arm back into his chair, Watson. And a dash of brandy. What a shrimp he is, to be sure.
The brandy brought back some color to his cheeks, and Ryder sat staring up at Holmes, who rolled the gem in his fingers for a moment before putting it back in the box. Go ahead, sweetie. You can read the next part.
All right. I have almost all the information and proof now, said Holmes, standing over Ryder. But we might as clear up all the details and close the case. How did you hear of this blue stone?
It was Catherine Cussick who told me of it, said Ryder, almost in a whisper.
The Countess, wait, am I saying it correctly?
Yep, the Countess.
The Countess of Morcar's waiting maid. And the something of
The Temptation
of but easy riches was too much for you. You knew that with plumber Horner had been convicted as theft for the past year.
He'd been convicted of theft in the past. So,
he knew much more likely to be suspected if the jewel was missing.
yep,
You engineered some small task for him in the ladyship's bathroom. My mouth's a little tired right now.
okay, I'll finish reading this one. After he had made that repair and gone, you stole the jewel, raised the alarm, and left while that poor man was arrested for a crime he did not commit. Holmes had stood up and became increasingly angry during this accusation, and this last sentence was shouted at the cowering fellow in front of him. Can you read this paragraph, sweetie?
Okay, I gotta color this all.
Gotta color this part.
Okay. Do you think it's looking good?
It does look good.
Okay. Ryder suddenly threw himself on the hearth rug and clutched at Holmes' knees. For God's sake, have mercy, he shrieked. I think of my father and mother. My mouth kind of hurts.
It would break their hearts. I've never done wrong before, and I will never again. Please don't bring it to court. Can you read this one, sweetie?
Get back in your chair, said Holmes sternly. You are cringe and crawl now. What does crawl mean?
Crawling like a snake, like you're crawling on the floor to beg forgiveness, but you thought nothing of letting an innocent man go to jail, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it says in the next sentence, but I'm guessing it's jail. Oh, go to prison in your place. Okay. I had hardly seen my friend in such wild spirit, but had to admit that the fellow deserved it. Go ahead, sweetie.
Wait, just gotta hold it a little. I will go away, Mr. Holmes. I will leave the country, and the case against him will fall.
But first tell us the whole story, said Holmes, taking his seat by the fire and calming his voice. How did the stone get into the goose? And how did the goose come to be sold at the market? Tell us truthfully. That's your only chance. Can you read the next sentence, sweetie? Right here.
I was eager to hear Ryder's account.
Ryder licked his dry lips. He glanced from Holmes to me and back again. I will tell you, sirs, just as it happened. Can you read this sentence?
Ryder, when Horner had been arrested, he began. What does that mean?
When Horner had been arrested, he began, I knew that I had to get away from the hotel and hide the stone before the police decided to search me and my room. There was no place there in which I could have concealed it. Do you know what concealed means?
Like hide it or like...
Exactly.
Like,
I pretended that I
or
had
like
been...
lock it in a place, lock it like somewhere.
No, conceal means to hide. You got it exactly. I pretended that I had been asked to run an errand and instead went to my sister's house in Brixton. She supplies geese to Mr. Breckenridge under her married name, Oshkosh. All the way there, I imagined the police would pounce on me at any moment. He gave a shudder, as if recalling the feeling. Can you read this sentence, sweetie?
When I reached my sister's house, I was covered in sweat, even though it was a cold day.
Mm-hmm.
She said I looked so pale, so I told her that I was upset about a jewel robbery at the hotel.
I went out to her backyard to smoke a pipe and think. There her geese were, gathered round a bowl of feed. They were calming somehow, and I suddenly remembered a man I'd once known named Maudsley. He would know where to sell the gem, and he wouldn't let me down because I knew a few things about him that he wouldn't want anyone to know. A sly look came over his face as he spoke of the blackmail. He lives in Kilburn, but the only problem was how to get the gem there. I thought of how scared I had been that a policeman might decide to search me, so I came up with a way of getting it there without carrying it myself.
I was looking at the geese when I had an idea that would fool any policeman. My sister had said that I could have a goose for a Christmas present, so I could keep it as a pet. So I looked at them all. Now crowding my feet around.
Crowding around my feet, yeah.
Crowding around. Why does that say round my feet?
Yeah, it should be around my feet. You're right. I agree with you. Crowding around my feet.
Crowding round my feet. There was a fine plump one with a black bar across its tail. It would be a good carrier for my gem. With some difficulty, I caught it and put some bird feed on it. I caught the gem and put some bird feed on it, and the goose swallowed it.
Yep.
For no reason.
And then my sister came out.
But then it flopped and pecked and got away just as my sister came out.
What are you doing with that bird, Jem? She asked me. Well, I said, you promised me a goose for Christmas, and I've chosen one. Can you read this one?
Wait, let me color this in a little. All right. But I have already saved one for you, she said. A bit put out. We flattened it.
But I already saved one for you, she said, a bit put out. We fattened it specially. It's that big white one over there. You can go.
Thank you, Maggie, I said. But I would rather have this one.
The other one is a good...
Wait, let me read.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
The other one is a good 2 pounds heavier. But just as you like, she said. with a shrug. Put a name tag on it and take it with
as
you.
a pet.
And take it with you as a pet to make sure you don't forget which one is yours.
Yep.
So I
I
did,
and I carried it to Kilburn. I told Mama and Pa what I'd done. He laughed until he nearly choked. Then there was no sign of the stone. I'd made a terrible mistake. We're not going to talk about cutting the geese to get his throat.
Wait. I got a better idea.
You got a better idea. Okay.
On that. I asked the geese to choke it out. I asked the geese to poop out the stone, and it did, but he stopped. Wait. We asked the geese to poop it out of its butt. He stopped, gasping as if he was about to choke. But there was no sign of the stone. And then I had made a terrible mistake. There's now poop all over the house. I rushed back to my sister's. There was now poop all over the place. I rushed back to with no good reason to say that there is. I rushed back to my sister's house, but the geese were all gone. She told them that she had already sold them to Breckenridge and
Convent Garden Market.
No,
okay.
Convent Pet Market.
Mm-hmm.
Pet market.
Yes, it's a pet market.
Yeah.
And there was another similar one with a black bar on its tail, I said. He burst out sobbing and buried his face in his hands.
There was a long silence filled by sniffling and Holmes tapping his fingers on the edge of the table.
At last my friend stood up, marched to the door. He flung it open and waited beside it pointedly.
What, sir? What, sir? Ryder stared at the open door in disbelief. Oh, heaven bless you.
So what just happened right there?
I don't know.
Holmes opened the door to his house and let the criminal walk out free. What does Holmes say?
Get out.
Ryder needed no second telling, but was through the door and down the stairs in a clatter. The front door banged and there was silence. Holmes reached for his pipe. After all, Dr. Watson, he said, I am not employed by the police to solve their crimes. If Horner were in danger, I would have taken a different course of action. But thankfully, no one was harmed. And now that Ryder has gone, he will not give evidence against Horner. So the case will collapse and no one will go to jail. It's just possible that I'm saving a soul. Ryder will not commit another crime, but not going to prison could change his life for the worse. It's a season for forgiveness, after all. I could see a lot of value in my friend's reasoning. Ryder was obviously easily influenced, and the company of hardened criminals would do him no good. If you would ring the bell, please, Dr. Watson, we will begin another investigation in which a bird will again be the chief feature. I smiled. I had certainly worked up an appetite for our supper.
Wait. No. I smiled. I had certainly worked up an appetite for our pet.
Yeah, so you could pet the pet goose.
I was glad that Holmes was thinking of our other pet, the goose.
At last.
I was also thankful he wasn't thinking of the goose.